Before we dive in, please note that the content of this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical or mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or mental health concern. Now on to the episode. Welcome to Life Unfolded, the podcast where we dive into the beautiful chaos of growing up, navigating love and relationships, and forging a fulfilling career. I'm your host, Melody Jordan, a 30-something creative professional who's taken life by the horns. In this podcast, I'll share my personal experiences and the hard-earned lessons I've learned along the way to inspire and empower you to live your most authentic life. Whether you're seeking advice, a fresh perspective, or just a good story, join me as we explore the twists and turns of life's unfolding journey. Let's get started. Welcome to the first episode of Life Unfolded. As you just heard in the intro, my name is Melody Jordan. I am the founder and CEO of MJ Media Productions, a media production company based out of Sweet Home, Oregon, where I design and manage websites, offer video production, as well as produce podcasts and live streams for influencers, entrepreneurs, and small businesses. I'm also a mom of my soon-to-be 8-year-old daughter and a partner to a loving, wonderful man. I'm also a singer, songwriter, a lover of plants, a reader of books, and a huge nerd about all things spiritual and personal growth. In this first episode, I'll be diving into 9 big life lessons that I've learned thus far. I recently had a birthday. I just turned 34 on June 16th. I am a Gemini. I'm also 1 on the Enneagram. I don't know my human design yet. I'm going to do that soon. But I just enjoy learning about what makes us us and how we can use that knowledge to become more self-aware for the benefit of people around us and ultimately for the world to help make it a better place. So, like I said, I just turned 34 and I was thinking about some of the biggest lessons I've learned in my life thus far. And then it just hit me, oh, you should just start a podcast. This would be a great first episode. So I have a list of 9 big lessons that I've learned that I wish I knew earlier on in life. And I thought I'd share them with you here. I would love to know if any of these are relatable to you or if they help you, if you've been going through something similar and something that I share here stands out to you or gives you like an aha or a light bulb moment. Please let me know. Leave a comment on the podcast, whichever platform you're listening on. I'd love to hear from you and connect. And make sure that you hit follow. I'd love to have you along for the ride. All right, lessons learned. Number 1, stop waiting for permission to live your life. Everyone will have a different opinion. You know what you're called to. Stop ignoring it. I feel like I have lived so much of my life just waiting for permission to do the things that I want to do or that I think I need to do. And I've found myself looking for affirmation from people in my life, usually people that I view as like an authority figure in my life, whether it's a parent or a boss or a mentor or someone that I just feel is further along than I am. And gosh, I have wasted so much time and put off so many things or like hidden certain parts of myself just because I felt like I didn't have permission to do what I needed to do. There have been situations in my life, and I think where I have finally learned this, I mean, I'm sure I still struggle with it or will still struggle with it, but I'm much more aware of it now, was the hardest situation I've been in my life. And I'll touch on this in another episode, I'm sure, because there's a lot of lessons and insights that have come out of that situation. But I was in a very toxic, very unhealthy, domineering, abusive marriage. And there is a spiritual dynamic with a church and the belief of men being in charge of women. And when I chose to leave, I found myself seeking affirmation and permission everywhere. I knew deep down what it was that needed to happen. I knew that things were not going to change. They were not going to get better because it was the same cycle over and over. Yet I didn't want to disappoint anyone. I mentioned earlier I'm a 1 on the Enneagram, and that core motivation is to be right, to be good, right? To not be bad. The wounding message is it's not okay to make mistakes. And so I really wanted to do the right thing. But if everyone has a different opinion, then what is the right thing? And I found myself trying to be everything that I thought everyone else wanted me to be, or do the things that I thought everyone else wanted me to do. And even within a church, there's such a range of beliefs just in that. And so everyone has a different idea of what God would want, what honors God, what is the right thing to do. And I was paralyzed. I felt paralyzed in making a decision because of this waiting for permission and this people-pleasing cycle that I was stuck in. And when I finally realized, I don't know if there was a specific moment where I realized, but finally I just decided I'm just going to do it. You know, you're not for everyone. You're not going to please everyone. No matter how hard you try to do the right thing, somebody's going to criticize it. Somebody is going to judge you. Somebody is going to think that you made the wrong decision or you could have done better. And so it really comes down to knowing yourself, knowing your values, knowing your experience, and just being so in tune with who you are and what you're feeling guided to. Because nobody knows for sure. They're all basing things off of their own experiences, through their own lenses of things that they've been through or where they are at in life. And it's just not the same. So just stop waiting for permission. You know what you're called to, so stop ignoring it. The second one, just because something is familiar or common doesn't mean it is right. Just because you grew up around certain behaviors or ways of life doesn't mean they are right. And I've heard that saying in my day, which to me puts off a sense of superiority, as if the way that this person grew up with, the way that they were raised is better than, just because it's different. And just because abuse was common, accepted, or hidden does not mean that you have to accept or continue the cycle. And maybe it's not abuse. Maybe it's complacency. Maybe it's overworking. Maybe it's defining overproductivity and stress as success. Just because that's what you grew up with or that's what you've been around, because that's familiar, it doesn't mean that it's right. And this brings me in to the third one, which is to heal childhood wounds. I know it sounds, or it can sound like pointless, like why I'm a grown-up now. I see things differently now. What does my childhood have to do with the way I am now? Well, the first 7 years of life are the formative years. That's when we learn what life is about and how it works and how relationships work. Of course, there are experiences beyond age 7 that form and shape us at just Basic psychology is that 0 to 7 are the biggest years for learning how the world around us works. And so you may think that the situation you're in or the repeating patterns that you notice in your life have nothing to do with it. But I guarantee that there is some big links back to your childhood or to some significant experiences in your growing up life. Stop excusing or writing off your repeating negative patterns. Stop blaming everyone else. Learn some basic psychology and rewire your brain. And I don't say this to just be harsh or rude. I mean, this is lessons I've learned that I wish I knew. I guess I'm speaking to my younger self here, but don't be a victim of your life. You can change it. You can. It may feel uncomfortable because it's totally new and not what you're used to. But oh my gosh, I'll have to do another episode on my experience with EMDR therapy for emotional trauma. It is amazing. Just taking the time to reflect and let's say a repeating pattern for me was not feeling valued or respected in my relationships. I have a long string of unhealthy relationships where there's lying, secret keeping, cheating, yelling, blaming. But why? Where did I experience that that's how it has to be? And why is that this kind of person that I've been drawn to? Because I saw it modeled somewhere in my upbringing. And this doesn't mean that we go back and blame our parents or whoever raised us or significant people in our lives like coaches or teachers. It comes from a place of understanding that they were doing the best they could with what they had at that time and their own things that they were trying to work through. And what has happened to us was not our fault, but the lingering effects of it, the ones that we are still dealing with today, that's our responsibility. It's our responsibility to change. Nobody else is going to do it for you. People are not going to give you what you want out of life because they feel bad for what you went through. Everybody's gone through hard things. Everybody has experienced really hard things in their lives, challenges. Even if it seems like everyone else has it better than you do, it's not true. Focus on what you can change because you can change a lot. Rewire your brain. Highly recommend looking into EMDR. Or like self-hypnosis, or something like that. Just dive in. Sometimes the right decision hurts more than the wrong one. It may feel like a setback, but do it anyways. Don't settle or become compliant. I feel like there's been so many years of my life that I've just wasted potential. I've wasted things that I could have accomplished that I didn't because I was afraid of being unloved. Settling into relationships that were controlling, even if it was covert, just slowly stripping me of who I am and silencing the gifts and skills that I've been given, all because I so badly wanted to feel loved. And that also stems from childhood messaging that needs to be rewired. But if you have that longing to be loved and to be in a relationship as a way to get that, to have that need fulfilled, I encourage you to look at why you think a relationship is going to fill that need in you. And if you find that you cannot be yourself or you are less and less of yourself as time with this person goes on, I hope that you find the courage to realize that that is not right. That's not healthy. That's not real love. And it may hurt and it may feel uncomfortable, but sometimes the right decision hurts more. And I guess you got to get to the point where the pain of staying in a place where you're not valued or celebrated or heard or allowed to have a different opinion or allowed to question beliefs hurts more than stepping into the unfamiliarity, having to start over in some aspects, maybe financially with a new home or with a new job or with a new town. It may feel like going backwards for a little bit, but maybe think of it as not going backwards, but recalibrating, just changing direction. Don't settle. Don't become compliant just to feel loved, because that's not love. Number 5. Are you an influencer, entrepreneur, or small business looking to elevate your brand? Look no further than MJ Media Productions. We specialize in stunning website design, cohesive, polished branding packages, and top-notch video and audio production. Our team brings your vision to life, helping you stand out in a crowded market. Ready to make your mark? Visit mjmediaproductions.net today. MJ Media Productions, where your story comes to life. It's okay to have flaws. This is me speaking to the younger Enneagram 1 in me. It's okay to have flaws. Work through your shame around them, which is sometimes called shadow work, and learn to be okay with them. Everybody has flaws. Everyone does. We live in a society that teaches us to put on masks, to hide them. Society or culture or families or school determines for us what flaws are considered bad and what flaws are okay. But why do they get to decide that it's shameful? Continue to work on your flaws, but also see how embracing those qualities can actually lend to your strengths. Not every trait that's considered undesirable needs to be repressed or changed. We're created certain ways for a reason. I think you can take an honest look at yourself and decide whether a flaw is something that needs to be worked on or not. Obviously, if it's hurting people around you, if it's hurting yourself, holding you back, then that's probably something that needs to be changed. But just because something is considered a flaw doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. For me, something I've struggled with is consistency. And the more that I've learned about who I am and how I'm wired, like with the Enneagram, with astrology, I mean, a lot of it is just me. I'm creative. I'm an air sign. I'm like the wind. I will change direction and have many passions. And I don't think that that's bad. What I do with that then is decide, okay, well, I don't want to let people down, so I just need to know that and own it. Like, I'm not going to commit to a year-long project because I know myself. I work really well in short bursts, like big projects with a pretty short timeline, like a few months. I can do that really well. But it's when they start to drag out and just the repetitive, I think, the same old thing in and out is just, it just like kills my soul, at risk of sounding very dramatic. That just feels like a soul sucker to me. I have not stayed in the same job for more than 3 years ever. I've had a lot of different jobs, and I spent a lot of time just wondering what's wrong with me, or, I just guess I'm a failure since I haven't held a job for 25 years like a lot of people that I have known. But that's not true. And I can have a long career as a creative working on multiple different projects. So that's what I mean by embracing those qualities and recognizing how they can lend to your strengths. And just be honest with yourself. Embrace it. It's okay to say no to opportunities because you don't want to let your flaws get in the way or your struggles get in the way. That's good. It's good to have that awareness. Number 6, take time to learn about healthy communication and relationships. Regularly read personal growth books, listen to podcasts, go to workshops. It is so worth it to fill your mind with positive things instead of staying stuck in negative ruts. Here's the thing with momentum, right? It's like to start pushing this ball up the hill, and it just seems so daunting. It just seems like, what's the point? But once that ball gets rolling, it's so much easier and it is so worth it. It's kind of like with exercise. I love the connection between like fitness and psychology and personal growth, where it's really hard to get started. And depending on your health at the start, I mean, it can feel very discouraging sometimes, or it's just exhausting, or it's really hard. It really hurts, but you stick with it for 3 weeks and you'll see the difference or feel the difference, or somebody notices the difference. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I did that. Like, you can be where you are, dissatisfied or discontent, complaining, negative for another 3 weeks. Or in 3 weeks, you can look back and be like, man, that was really hard, but I love where my mind is at now versus where it was then. And I guess the saying that would go along with this is choose your challenges, because there's no like easy, like just because it's easy doesn't mean it's right. Like, it's easy to just sit on the couch, but it's also easy to get up and go for a walk, which it's also hard. It's hard to live with the long-term results of not being active or not ever working on yourself and blaming everybody else and finding yourself in the same crappy situations. But it's also hard to be honest and take responsibility for your part in things and start digging into what's probably going to be some painful memories and uncomfortable memories. And you're probably going to cry, and it's okay. But just choose the challenge. I love to grow. I love to discover, learn about different things. Even if something turns out not to be for me, I still enjoy learning about it, and I have an appreciation for all the diversity in our world. And so maybe it's easier for me to get into personal growth and learning about these things. But I'll tell you what, I've seen the results in my life. I've seen the results in my relationships, and just the way I feel every single day from doing the work, from taking the time to learn about healthy communication, healthy relationships, healing the inner child, overcoming negative beliefs, untrue beliefs. Taking the time to learn about that has been so worth it. Peace gained, I think, is hands down worth it. So take the time. Number 7, a relationship doesn't define you or your value. You must do the work to heal unhealthy attachment styles and low self-esteem. Otherwise, every relationship will be like a remake of the same movie. Same story, different actors. Oh my gosh, I have seen this play out in my life over and over, from like my high school boyfriend, or even like my elementary school boyfriend. You know, you said you were boyfriend and girlfriend, but wasn't like a mature romantic relationship. Well, neither was my high school one, honestly. But anyways, I think you catch my drift. Just the same patterns over and over and over, until I decided to stop making the same movie and over. I want a different story. And so how do I rewrite the story? I have to go in and rewrite the pathways in my brain that keep telling me to make the same choices, rewire them so that I make different choices. I hold different beliefs. You can totally do it. There's so many resources out there. But know that a relationship doesn't define you or your value. In a healthy relationship, you should still be able to be yourself. Yes, there is compromise. There is sacrifice. There's giving, there's receiving. But you shouldn't have to give up your character, your unique personality, your light, your spark, your passions, your hobbies. If you're not hurting your relationship by doing these things, it's good to be able to be you. And just know that your relationship doesn't define you. You are still you. Your relationship also doesn't define your value. You are not worth more. You are not better. You won't be respected more or less based on your relationship status. Well, maybe some people will respect you more or less, but that's their judgment. That's their own thing that they need to work through, why they believe that. But your value does not go up because you are in a relationship or because you lose a relationship. Please know that. You have value. You matter. You are worthy of respect. You are worthy of being heard. You do not need a relationship to make you a whole person. It's also not fair to your partner to expect them to heal your wounds. If you think that being in a relationship is going to make you feel better about yourself, it's not fair of you to put that burden on the other person because they have their own things that they've been working through. They have their own insecurities that hopefully they're not putting on you to fulfill. You see what I mean? You each need to be able to be whole and healthy on your own and continually working on yourselves for the benefit of your relationship and for the people around you. Otherwise, it's just going to be more negative, toxic cycles. So a relationship doesn't define you or your value. You must know what your value is before. Number 8, just start. Don't wait for things to be perfect. Recognize that there's going to be a learning curve. You will make mistakes. It may feel awkward at first, but you have to start. One thing that I am proud of myself for, like my whole life, I have always found the courage to just go for it. Whatever it is that I'm going for, I jump in and I do the heavy lifting up front to find my way in. Some of that is due to the impatience that I have, where I just want to, I learn best hands-on, right? And there's another one of those, knowing my less desirable traits, but how it can lend to my strengths and success, is that it gives me courage to just jump in and figure it out. Your first Instagram post is not going to be the best, but 3 years from now, look at how your business has developed. Look at how your podcast has developed. I think just knowing that you're not going to know everything from the get-go. Stop waiting for it to be perfect. Stop waiting until you take one more course. Stop waiting until you have, I don't know what it is that you think the requirement is for you to be able to start. Just start. Everybody starts somewhere. The people that you're looking up to, the people who have inspired you to do this thing that you're wanting to start, they all started somewhere, and they did not start where they are today when you're watching what they're doing. They started from the beginning. They've been where you have been before. And so just start. Just start. Get the awkwardness out of the way. Your first live video is probably going to be scary. I remember I was trembling. I still shake sometimes when I do a live video. But just do it. Just show up. Progress over perfection. Number 9, your worth is not your follower or your like count. Growing up as a 90s kid, I was born in 1990, the internet has been a part of my life, most of my life, since I was 5 years old. So that online recognition and acceptance and affirmation, by the number of likes. Oh, especially as a young person, I wish I didn't let that be so defining of me. I love the phrase 4 quarters versus 100 pennies. I'd rather have a few solid, high quality people in my circle than have 100 who are talking crap about me or don't actually care about me. If I didn't show up, they wouldn't even notice. It's not the quantity, but it is the quality that matters. And I've also noticed this is something that I still work through because I don't have a huge Instagram following on my business page and I don't get a ton of engagement. but it has not impacted the amount of business that I bring in. So it's not about quantity of likes, of followers. It's not. So get that out of your head. That does not define you or your value either. You still have a lot to offer. Still do it. Your people will find you, and they are going to be the quality that you want. Those are the 9 things that I had written down for big lessons learned. I hope that this was helpful for you, like it was for me. Leave a comment and let me know which one stood out to you. I think we rise together. We all bring something to the table. So subscribe, and I will talk to you guys in the next one. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Life Unfolded. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe, share this episode, and leave us a review letting us know how much you love it. See you next time.